So introverted feeling is feeling subjective preference, unquantifiable preferences. It's about ethics. It's about moral values, personal conviction that is turned inwards. It's about you being keenly aware of what you want, what is missing, what you want in life. So the agenda of introverted feeling, if it's in top function, it is continuously refine and stay true to your conviction, your subjective preference. If you believe in something, you stick with it, and you continuously use that function to judge the information that come in. Is this thing good or bad? Is this thing that I do good or bad? Is that event good or bad from a moral, from a subjective standpoint? For example, I put so it's a feeling that is determined mainly by subjective factors, like very subjective to you. Sometimes it can be very, it can appear very exaggerated, very one-off. For example here I put here, when I was young, I was attacked by a chicken. For whatever reason, it's my bad luck. I was attacked by a chicken. So I hold that conviction that I hate chicken, and I wish that all chickens would have been, if I have my way, all chickens should have been terminated. I'm just exaggerating to make a point here. So it's not a common thing. Statistically, it's a very rare thing to be attacked by a chicken. But I hold a strong subjective conviction towards that particular thing or object. And it's very unquantifiable. It's my story. But at its healthiest level, introverted feeling allow you to have a strong empathy for suffering, a strong quiet conviction to help other people who are suffering, who face a similar thing that you had before. Like, okay, I got attacked by a chicken. So if I still have that conviction when I grow up, I would make sure that there's a sign everywhere, and make sure that all the chicken are well behaved, and that they are, make sure that no one is attacked by chicken ever again. Okay, this is a funny story, but yeah, you can think about people like Mother Teresa, who spent her life helping people, to example, helping people overcome hunger, suffering, or in the Lord of the Ring, you have Frodo, who is very quietly going toward the journey of returning the ring to the Mount Doom, overcoming on the hardship without complaint, because he has a very strong conviction and he don't give up at all, even if death facing him. That is the idea of introverted feeling. Let me go a bit further into the details here as an illustration of the dynamic between the dominant and the lower functions. So dominant introverted feeling, when you are younger or when it's unhealthy and it's take over your life, people who are dominant in this, they tend to be self-absorbed. They are too focused on their pain, their suffering, their needs, the subjective, the chicken. They are very black and white. They use it too much. Everything is good or bad. This is either I agree with, I don't agree with. I like this, I don't like it. They can be very impractical and all or nothing kind of dreams. Either I achieve this or I don't. Either all the chicken need to be gone or nothing. It's a very no quantifiable, no framework to determine the success here. They focus to, basically they are so absorbed by their feeling that they can't see anything else. And as a result of this overpowering dominant function, there are lower, the extroverted functions, especially the extroverted thinking that have to do with facts and logic and objectivity, are pushed down all the way from consciousness. If that person, they will find not only they're weak with it, they will find way to justify why they should not adopt or develop that function. So they think that facts and logic and system or businesses are unethical or soulless, you know. But at the same time, those people, even though their desire, their dream, their passion are so strong, they are very ineffective in making things happen because they are so resentful of the system of data, of logics. They can't make things happen because you can't achieve anything significant in life without being balanced. So the key for growth, according to the MBTI theory, is you use perceiving function that help you to take in information without judging. Perceiving information means you just taking and observing without judging, without saying whether it's good or bad, ethical or not. So whether it's sensing or intuition, you observe more, you experience more, you see more. So for in this case in particular, you see more cases of suffering. You explore more options in life. You are no longer so obsessed with that subjective childhood or whatever you grow up with. You become more objective. You see the universality suffering, that you are not the only one who have that problem. Your suffering is not unique. And not everything is black and white anymore, you know. There are a lot of things in gray. So from someone who is a lot more judgmental and self-absorbed, you start to see, you start to become more objective, more accepting of other people's differences. You don't judge people if they have a different moral value from you. If someone now they love chicken, I can understand why you love chicken. I don't impose on you or hate you because you like chicken. So as their thinking and their extroverted functions now gain more energy to freely develop, they are no longer being suppressed by your subjectivity. You have more energy to develop your use and understanding of system, of data, of number, so that you can build a business, you can build a non-profit, you can build a system that benefits a charity in large scale to benefit everyone. This is when introverted feeling stay true to its quiet crusading essence. And you don't just crusade for yourself, but you crusade, you actually can impact and help people. And that is when a function transition from unhealthy to healthy, to mature. Does that make sense? So I have gone into very details here about introverted feeling and what is the growth path and what is the dynamics between the dominant and inferior functions. Let's talk about another one, extraverted feeling. So people who are like INFJ, ENFJ, ISFJ, ESFJ have this as their top two functions. So introverted feeling, if introverted feeling is very subjective and very inward looking, extroverted feeling dominant are oriented by objective data, by the objects. So they might not be very good with knowing what they want or what is missing or what is they truly want, but they are very good with noticing the social dynamics, the social expectation, the rules of the social rules. They are very good with that. So the essence is something like friendly hosting, you know, make sure everyone have a good time, everyone is jovial, maybe all the etiquettes, all the social norms are well observed so that everyone can have a good time. Nothing is, make sure that nothing objectionable can happen. So they have a very positive and pleasant flavor as compared to introverted feeling, which is a lot more intense, a lot more, you could say sometimes it feels very sad, very rebellious. Extroverted feeling is a bit more elegant, more harmonious. For example, if I go into a house, if it is my first time visiting someone's house, it's customary for me to compliment the house. or like the painting. Oh, that's a nice painting, even though I may deep down I may not agree. I may not think that is a nice painting. Or I have no opinions, but because the social rule dictate that, the social norm dictate that I should compliment something, so I compliment the painting. That's one example of extroverted feeling. So immature, younger, immature, or more less developed extroverted feeling dominant type like ESFJ or ENFJ, they can be they can wear their heart on the sleeve too much, in the sense that they don't know how to draw their boundary. They want to, they got, the word here is like people pleaser. They try to please everyone until they get exhausted. So their path to grow is to, instead of seeing introverted function as selfish or disruptive, they start to accept the inferior, the lower function as something important for growth. It's important to know what they want, who they are, what is their path. So that is introverted intuition and introverted thinking here. So instead of suppressing these functions, introverted feelers should learn to accept them and incorporate them in a healthy way. Extroverted thinking. So if extroverted feeling is paying attention to the objective social rules, social dynamics, extroverted thinking is a lot more logic driven, a lot more functional. So they also care about the objective criteria. But while feeling is a lot more subjective and unquantifiable, TE is a lot more objective. So if I say, oh, I hate chicken because of XYZ, TE is a lot more objective. Oh, everyone is buying chicken, so chicken should be good. I like chicken because everyone like chicken, more the better. So you see an exaggeration, but he is a lot more observant of what's going on and tend to not have a very good sense of what they want. A bit similar to FE. They pay attention to what is the rules, that the rule of performance, the rule of function, of things that are functional. For example, another way is, you can think about this. To get A's in school, to have good grades, or thing like, to have a good salary, to have a good job. That kind of thing tend to be like socially constructed rules that are very well observed by extroverted judging type, extroverted thinker. So FE is a sense of harmony among people. The TE, extroverted thinking, is more about efficiency and functionality. Does it think serve its purpose? Do I serve my purpose? Is my business running? Is my business meeting the KPI? Am I as person? Am I raising? They judge everything in terms of more of a functional standpoint. So this one is a bit long, but the idea is that extrovert thinker, if they overuse their function, then they suppress on the lower functions. They suppress their feeling. They suppress their perceiving function, so that they can become almost like a tyrant. Like, especially the closer you live with them, like my dad, for example, he may appear very nice, very polished, very successful outside, but because he has so many rules, so many standards, as children, as family member living with him, it feels very stifled, feel very harsh, because the closer you be with them, the more you can feel the rules. You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to get good grades, you have to do this. That's what you feel. So if they suppress it, they become like a tyrant. They suppress their aesthetic, their feeling, and sometimes it can even become unethical. The end justify the mean, like those cases of scientists who pick or change the data or do unethical thing to get the result that they want. They are too driven by the objective fact, the objective data, that they forego and sacrifice their inner moral compass and what they want. Quickly contrast this to introverted thinking. This is thinking, again, still very driven by facts and by objective framework, measurable, quantifiable frameworks. But introvert thinker is a lot more inward. Their logic is a lot more subjective. The key word here is subjective. If introvert thinkers play by the books, play by the rules, objective, introvert thinker, they have their own criteria. One, they play by their own criteria, and second, they tend to spend a lot more in depth into analyzing the problem to get a way more elegant, more accurate way of solving a problem. But similar to FI, Introverted Feeling, this has this flavor of I am the judge. I don't care what is the best practice. I don't care what people say. My way is a more optimized way. My way is a better way. I can come up with a better way. I don't trust what the data give me. I don't trust what the authorities say. That is their flavor. If FI is refining personal subjective preferences and passion, TI is about technical mastery, refining their mastery of a certain craft. Like Einstein is very good with what he does. He's refining his physics theory to the extreme level. And he takes pride in the fact that his equation is more accurate, more elegant. He goes against the norm, what people say. But similar to TI also treats life like a game to win, game to understand. So they are less concerned about harmony or feeling or subjective needs, people's needs, and less humanitarian. They're more functional. But an example I put here for us to better understand the difference between introverted thinking and extroverted thinking is, for example, let's say business, people can categorize something that even the label, the framework that you use can determine whether you are extroverted thinker or introverted thinker. I think a lot of us are familiar with the framework by BCG, cow, star, dog, for example. I'm sorry if it's a bit too business here, but when you categorize something as cow or star or dog, it have a certain judgment, certain expectation to it. Oh, something is, a business is a cow if it's produce a lot of cash, it's good. Being a dog is bad. But if we categorize the same, if we categorize differently, something as a startup, as an SME, as a corporate, it's very neutral. It's a lot more, it doesn't come with an agenda. So that's an example of how introverted thinking, that's a simple tweak of the framework that you use. It can determine whether your thinking is more subjective or objective, or does it come with an external agenda? Sorry, I hope that makes sense, because I think introverted thinking is quite tough for people who don't have it. I myself don't have that, so I try my best to compare and contrast. And so introverted thinker, they are very good with their technical expertise, but they suppress their extroverted function, especially extroverted feeling. So they are quite bad with people or influencing people. They kind of disdain, or they are quite awkward with social dynamics. So again, it's important for them to perceive and not judge, and to incorporate their weaker function to be more effective in solving problem, instead of just using their own logic and just work by themselves. Okay, last one. Introvert function are more holistic yet reductionistic. Is here another nuanced difference that I can point out here since we have gone through all the different functions. For example, what does it mean by holistic and reductionistic? Let's say FE. Okay, I pay attention to all these rules, or these social rules that make people to be happy. I have to pay attention to so many different details, you know, what they eat, what the music like, what is the ambience. FI is a lot more fundamental, you know, based on my detailed understanding of my feeling. There are only a few important feelings that should be observed. Like people only need a few important things like respect, dignity, freedom. All social rules boil down to that. You know, you need to treat people with respect. That is a truth. For TE, if TE is like, okay, if I want to get a citizenship, I have to do this, do this, do this. If I have to get this job done, I have to do this and that. You know, I have to. But TI is a lot more reductionistic. Okay, all this factor can be summed up into one thing. You know, you need to demonstrate a strong affinity to stay long term and contribute to the country. The detailed criteria is less important. I just want something simple. So introverted function is something that is a lot of thought go put into it, but also very simple and reductionistic. That is the idea. And I hope that you give a better light of the difference again between that four functions.